Are you sick of running out of ammo? Reloading your guns? Well, this is the build for you. In today's video, we're going over the Infinity Man Zane build. But before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Borderlands 3 Mayhem 4 Zane builds. Don't forget to join the Zane Nation Discord channel. Link is in a pinned comment down below. And if you would like to become a member and get sneak peeks to unreleased content, the link will be in the description for that. Also, shout out to Dreazzy. He's been working on this build for at least a week now before we got it into a good spot. The Infinity Pistol hasn't popped up in many meta builds at all recently, but so many people love this gun. Well, the Seeing Dead class mod might have been the key to unlocking its infinite potential. There's one key reason why this is actually an insanely good gun with Zane as well. But I do want to point out real quick, this build is mostly just for fun. There are probably better builds out there, but it was extremely awesome messing around with the Infinity Pistol, and we actually got it to give us some really good damage to the point where we were able to get through the takedown with it a couple times. And yeah, so if you love the Infinity Pistol, this is going to be the best way to use it. Basically, we've got a class mod that will give us 10 out of 5 into Violent Violence. Now, this skill's definitely good, but one of the major downsides is how much you'll actually end up reloading all of your guns, and the Infinity Pistol gets rid of that problem entirely. So by nearly doubling our fire rate, we also just straight up double the DPS on this thing, and that's the main premise of the build. But there's some other pieces of gear and strategies we're going to be taking advantage of as well, and we have some definite weaknesses in this build I have to mention for you guys. So first things first, let's go over the gear. We've got an infinity for each element. The two main ones we're going to be using are the radiation and the corrosive. You still want shock and fire for specific bosses, but you should be able to do almost everything else in the game with the radiation and corrosive elemental ones. Now there's one specific anointment we're looking for on each of our infinities as well, and that's going to be the Sentinel Cryo anointment. Now I've touched on radiation weapons with Sentinel Cryo in the past. This is just a very strong element combination. You can get through shields, you can get through armor, and then you're neutral to health bars, so you're going to get through those as well. You're basically covering every element on the chart by using this combo. On top of that, this anointment is just going to give us the most consistent damage increase you can get for this build. We actually aren't going to be using the clone for the simple reason that we don't want to ever stop firing our weapons. So we can basically just activate our Sentinel and Barrier and basically never do anything else except for literally fire the Infinity Pistol forever. Now there is one exception to this, and that is our Shock Infinity. Now we're literally only using the Shock Infinity against huge shields, so the cryo damage increase won't give a huge help there. Instead, I have one that gives us a little bit more bonus fire rate. Now I actually suggest getting the consecutive hits anointment. You're really only going to be pulling this out against like Wotan's shield or like the Valkyrie's shields, or even Captain Tron's shields is a good example. So that consecutive hit anointment, when you're just firing straight into it, is probably going to be the biggest damage increase for your Shock Infinity. But I don't have that one, but that's the one I suggest finding. So that's what I think you guys should look out for with Infinity Pistols in this build. Keep in mind, a Fire Infinity can actually melt Grave Ward. I'll have a clip of that in this video at some point. Now on to the gear. For the shield, we're actually using the Brawler Ward. The way this build plays, we are actually health gating really hard. We're basically always keeping our health full with Salvation, but since we're obviously under constant fire, our shield will probably be depleted. So the Brawler Ward is going to give us the most bonuses for having a depleted shield, and what's cool is the health regen on it will also help us health gate a little bit more. Now for the grenade, you can really use whatever you want. I was actually using a recurring hex for a lot of my runs, but a piss would be great too. Just get the on throw anointment. Only our Sentinel will be throwing grenades for us, and our action skills won't be ending due to good misfortune, so this is going to be the best anointment most likely. And for the artifact, This is actually one of the most important pieces in the build, in my opinion. We're actually using a loaded dice. This reduces our max HP by 75%. And now what this is actually doing for us is making it easier to health gate. So for those of you who don't know what health gating is, basically if your health is above 51%, then no one attack from an enemy will basically be able to one-shot you. So for example, if you have 100 health and your health is above 51, whether an enemy is doing 70 damage or 1,000 damage, in one shot, it won't be able to kill you. So basically what we're doing is we are infinite firing our infinity, and with salvation, since our health is so low, your health will always be full. Just kind of pay attention to my my health bar during these clips, and you'll kind of get it. So that's just for those of you who don't know what health gating is. A lot of you already know that anyway. So there are a couple exceptions to this you want to watch out for. There's barrels that basically always kill you through health gate. There is self-damage that can kill you. Also, dots will be able to kill you since your health is actually pretty lower than normal. But basically, like I said, as long as you're shooting enemies, you pretty much shouldn't die. So that's the main thing you're trying to overcome in this build. Your infinity bullets always have to be connecting with enemies. As soon as one dies, you need to snap to the next target. Now, on to the skills. We've only spent points into the clone and drone trees, but like I said, we're actually using the barrier instead of the clone. So not only will the barrier actually amp our damage a little bit, which is very important because we're basically trying to make the infinity usable. It'll just block a couple extra attacks, adding to our survivability. And like I said, I actually was using the clone at first, but every time I went to activate it, I wasn't shooting, and it got a little bit sketchy sometimes. So that's actually why we're using the barrier. Now, there's only a couple of things I really want to mention about these trees. The main thing is that we're basically set up to do the most damage possible. Violent Violence is basically a strict damage buff with the Infinity Pistol since we're not reloading. Other than that, you do notice we have Playing Dirty, which ultimately just adds more damage into this build. It actually procs off our class mod more often than you'd think. We actually tested this build with and without it, and ultimately we think it's a benefit. And besides that, in the clone tree, we got all the way down to Supersonic Man. We're always going to have our action skills active due to Good Misfortune, and this just gives us some more speed, which adds to our damage with Violent Momentum. So basically these skill trees with our gear got us the most damage, and it's basically everything you're seeing in the footage. One last thing you might notice is I do actually have the point and C in red. This is just going to help you boss a little bit. You will activate your kill skills fairly quickly in this build regardless, but your Infinity actually doesn't do a lot of damage until you get your 2 fire rate stacks. So even going into a mobbing situation, this is just going to help you get that start. And we really had 1 extra point anyway. I don't think you need the 3rd point in Good Misfortune, so I think this is a fine point to spend. Now, a couple things you need to know about this build. The first is that, like I said, we're health gating extremely hard. So as long as you're shooting at enemies, you will always be above health gate. Salvation doesn't fully insta-heal you without the loaded dice on, but with it on, you pretty much can't die because of health gate. I'm not sure where I'm editing in my Wotan kill, but it's going to be in this video, and you notice that since Wotan is such a big target and he's so easy to constantly be shooting, we literally just didn't go down once, and that's one thing you have to watch out for while mobbing. Basically, as you kill enemies or as enemies jump around, for example, the death spheres and the dogs are slightly annoying to deal with sometimes because they can dodge your attacks. One other enemy really annoying to deal with is the shielded one that reflects bullets, because you won't be healing if he's reflecting your bullets. So basically that's the main thing you want to watch out for. You just always want to be shooting, and basically you won't be able to die. Other than that, just press your trigger and never let go. If you want to tape down your right trigger on controller or whatever, go ahead. You literally just never stop shooting the entire time. But anyways, guys, that's really it for the build video. If you like this build, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Borderlands 3 Mayhem 4 Zane builds. And don't forget to join the Zane Nation Discord. Link will be in a pinned comment down below. And if you would like to become a member to support my channel, link is in the description for that. Thank you to Norman Brooks, Flyman, El Jefe, Jeremy Bentham, vanmec, Starcatcher, Andrew Whitting, Alexander, Vong Meng, Max N, Drumlion, Kaldra, Dreazzy, and Janus. Thank you all so much for becoming the first members of my channel. Anyways though guys, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one.